What's happening, guys? Pete back with you for an all-new edition of the Music Box Pete podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. On today's episode, we're going to touch on new metal bands. This is one topic that I've never really discussed in full length, but we're going to do a great deal, or we're going to spend a great deal of time here talking about the new metal bands that graced the modern rock charts. And this was around the turn of the century, so we're talking late 90s, turn of the millennium. So that was when new metal started to take shape. And really, it's one of those periods where it's sort of like, a lot of people sort of cringe when they talk about like new metal bands because it's one that they're sort of embarrassed to talk about. I know I certainly am. Like with some of the bands that I listen to, and we spend a great deal of time talking about them. Some bands we like, some bands we love, but one kind of thing to sort of do, and that's sort of the thing with like the growth of like all the music we listen to, especially why as I talk about the modern rock tracks charts, it's sort of a chronologue or sort of encyclopedia of sorts of the music we listen to at any given point of time. Because again, it started in '88 and sort of trailing through the British new wave pop movement and going to grunge and everything. It's sort of, you can almost like a timeline or like a chronology to it. So it's almost like think of it like a musical family tree of sorts of what you listen to at a certain period of time. I think it's one of the more enjoyable things too about music, and just sort of what we listen to at any given time. I think especially with some of the new metal bands I talk about, like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Deftones, Papa Roach. I mean, everybody, they all had a place in time of like where they were, and just the effect that they had on people, and that's sort of the most important thing here. So let's kick things off and talk about Korn. So Korn first debuted on the chart. I think they had a few others before, but I'm just going to focus on the late 90s. I think like Blind or some of their earlier songs might have charted earlier, so I'll double check on that after the cast. But the first time they charted, like more recent late 90s, as we talk about the new metal movement, was with Got the Life, which debuted at number 37 on the chart. And it stayed on the chart for, quite a bit, up to like 16 weeks or so. I'm just sort of, traversing through my charts here. But just sort of, the effect that they had on people. I just remember the video being all over MTV, like all over too, and it was inescapable. They were one of those bands where you're like, oh god, because it's really fast paced, and the drummer David for the band he was absolutely insane on drums too, and of course Jonathan Davis was the frontman as well. But they had just such a huge impact on like everything too, and seeing them sort of traverse up the charts here too, because it was almost like a slow moving too. Because again, TRL was a huge part in this too as well. Again, the video is out to the mainstream. I think that's what really set it apart too, because they're all so intertwined, and you can say that for a great number of acts too, but especially the new metal ones too. And seeing them just it was a slow climb up the charts too, because if you sort of backtrack with they peaked at around number 17 is where they peaked on the chart, and that was sort of the impetus of the music that was to follow. I think you go back from there, and of course like all the other bands that followed too, it was really something special. And they sort of turned the page to 99. I think that's when everything just sort of especially as you get into summer of 99 and where things went from there. I mean, it was like all systems go from there too, and seeing like everything that was everything that was about to take place, man, oh man, it was something. So Limp Bizkit is the next band we're going to talk about. They debuted with Nookie at number 28. This is in June of 99. They had previously charted with Faith. That came in around 98 or so, late 98. I remember that video quite well. But Nookie was sort of the massive success it was. And it just zoomed up the chart. I remember Significant Other. I had that album on repeat. I still have it on vinyl and listen to, occasionally from time to time. But Nookie was a huge, massive hit. It peaked at number 3 on the Modern Rock Tracks chart and in the fall of 99. And that was just sort of, seeing where, just sort of a jumping off point where things were going from there. And it was the new metal movement was starting to gain a lot of steam too, and I think some like music critics were like a very Chris Melanphy from Pitchfork stated it eloquently. He said, quote, possibly the most loathed period of music of the last half century, the rap rock years, when looked through the prism of the modern rock chart's evolution, are a logical endpoint to a decade when alt culture steadily de-wussified itself. So I think that has a lot of bearing too, just seeing some of the bands, and I think we were sort of embarrassed of playing it because it's just sort of like you kind of cringe a little bit. But I think all truth be told, I think it had a lot of impact on people too, and I think seeing like the effect it had on the industry too. I think that's one thing you cannot deny. Like the record sales, I think Significant Others sold off, gosh, I think 6 million copies or so. So it had this just massive impact, and there's no truth be told of like what was going on from there. And Korn also had another song, "Make Me Bad," from Issues. "Falling Away From Me" was on there too, and "Freak on a Leash" as well from Korn also charted. Just sort of backtracking, but with Limp Bizkit, they were just omnipresent. They also reached number one with "Rearranged" in late '99 as well too, with the follow-up single after Nookie. But yeah, just as we got into 2000, Papa Roach is the next band we're going to talk about. They debuted with "Last Resort" at number 38. This is their debut hit, and just sort of it zoomed up the chart. The video for that was just absolutely incredible. And of course, it talks about suicide and all that too, and that message kind of got lost, especially in the MTV version, because it cut out all references to that. Just sort of, and it's kind of sad too, and just you can only hear it like in the explicit album version. It was kind of pathetic that they would that the MTV would play that card to just sort of it's limiting their artist freedom of expression by doing that. Even just I'm not talking about like cutting out like F-bombs and all that too, just cutting out any mention of like suicide and all that too, because it was deemed insensitive, and it's sort of taken away creative control or freedom of speech, however you want to put it. But I mean, that's a discussion for another day. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but it was a powerful song, and it really affected the youth because it was something that the youth were going through at that time. And "Last Resort" zoomed up the chart. It just absolutely was just an absolute incredible song, and went to number one on August 5th, 2000. That was a pinnacle point too of like the whole nu metal movement too, and like seeing how things went from there, and you could like point to a lot of things. It had an immediate impact on people. There's no truth be told of like what it's gonna do and what it did for countless others out there too. It's just awesome. And Papa Roach, I still listen to these days too, and I was listening to "Scars" a great deal. Man, that was a good song. That was from their "Getting Away with Murder" album, which came out in 2004. Next band we're going to talk about is Deftones. So they debuted on the chart with "Change in the House of Flies" at number 27 in May of 2000. And I think they had some other songs chart before that too. I'll have to go back and look on that too. But "Change in the House of Flies" was a massive hit. It peaked at number 3 in the Modern Rock Tracks chart around the fall of 2000. And more recently, they charted in the alternative airplay chart with "Infinite Source" last year, which peaked at number 5, and it was their highest charting hit until "Change in the House of Flies." So it was sort of amazing, like how can they have the Deftones can have this lasting impact that lasted for years and years and years too, and they charted with other ones too. "Minerva" was a big one too. "Diamond Eyes," like countless others from there too, and they just had this immense impact too. And Deftones still, my friend Ryan Ward still listens to them to this day too as well too, and he really enjoyed Private Music, their most recent album. But the nu metal scene too, if you look back on it, just sort of from the prism of sorts too. Yeah, I mean, you kind of cringe at like some of the music we listen to, but that's what makes it all good in the long run too. I think looking back at like all the music we listened to when we were younger, we could sort of say, what we were thinking back then. But as you look back on it, it really was the best time of our lives too. I mean, may not have liked it at the time, but it really affected our lives in a way that we couldn't think like any other way. I mean, with Papa Roach, for example, too, like the countless people who were going through with teen suicide and bullying and everything that was going on back then, especially after like the Columbine shooting and all that too, and just what we're living through at that time. Unfortunately, it still goes on to this day, just albeit in other forms. But Papa Roach, Last Resort, that really put everything on the map too for them too, and just sort of it really, it almost sort of it gave nu metal sort of this legitimate stance, and it made them a legitimate band. I think it propped them up for a while too, until like then Linkin Park came along too, and that completely changed the game too, and that sort of. That kind of, I think with Linkin Park's arrival, it kind of put an end to nu metal scene because Linkin Park reached the status that no other band could ever achieve. So I think, looking back at all the other nu metal bands, if you had to do like a Mount Rushmore of sorts, too, I think Korn, Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, And Deftones. I think the four bands I taught you about too. I think that would make the most sense of the bands that had that huge impact all throughout the years. I think it was just an incredible time. I mean, Limp Bizkit were my favorite for years too. I mean, I like Korn. Deftones, I got into Deftones took me a while to get into. I grew to appreciate them. Papa Roach, I absolutely adored. Papa Roach were the band for me too. And why don't I close out by playing one of their songs right here too? I think hearing like Last Resort and everything too. I think like everything went through, everything people that listen to their music, everything that they went through in their lives too. What they're going through was just it was devastating too. Just I couldn't imagine like anything that they were going through at the time. But another song that came out more later, called Scars. I listened to a great deal like in the past few weeks too, and just at how impeccable it was too. I mean, right up there with all Papa Roach's greatest hits. Last Resort obviously is a banger, but this one about to play right here, Scars, is equally as good, if not a little bit better than Last Resort. So here's Papa Roach with Scars, closing us out on this edition of the Music Box P podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you soon.
I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut. My weakness is that I can't do much, and my scars remind me that the past is real. I tear my heart open just to fail. I'm drunk and I'm feeling down, and I just wanna be alone. I'm pissed cause you came around, why don't you just go home? Cause I channeled all your pain, and I can't help you fix yourself. You're making me insane, all I can say is I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut, and my weakness is that I can't do much, and our scars remind us that the past is real. I tear my heart open just to feel. I tried to help you once, against my own advice. I saw you going down, but you never realized that you're drowning in the water. So I offered you my hand, compassion's in my nature. Tonight is our last stand. I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut, and my weakness is that I can't do much, and our scars remind us that the past is real. I tear my heart open just to feel. I'm drunk and I'm feeling down, and I just wanna be alone. You shouldn't ever come around, why don't you just go home? Cause you're drowning in the water, and I tried to grab your hand. I left my heart open, but you didn't understand. But you didn't understand. Go fix yourself. I can't help you fix yourself, but at least I could say I tried. I'm sorry, but I gotta move on with my own life. I can't help you fix yourself, but at least I could say I tried. I'm sorry, but I gotta move on with my own life. I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut, and my weakness